Well, good afternoon and welcome to the 2026 Custom Training webinar series hosted by Extended Campus Custom Training at the University of Texas at Austin. We are super excited to have you with us for the first webinar in the series. Before we start, a couple of quick notes. The session has been recorded, and once it's ready, we are going to send it to your email as a registered participant. We also please use the chat if you have any questions during the webinar. We will also allocate some time at the end to ensure that we are answering any of your questions. All right, let's start then. So in today's session, building nonprofit capacity through training solutions, we will focus on how to build strong, capable teams in a way that's intentional, sustainable, and mission-driven. We'll examine how targeted learning solutions can build organizational capacity, strengthen leadership pipelines, and enhance performance. This is a very hands-on session, and you will walk away with practical tools to assess workforce needs, design meaningful training programs, and foster a culture of continuous growth. Well, let me introduce our rockstar nonprofit management faculty, Jennifer Carter. Jennifer served as Chief Mission Officer at Goodwill Central Texas and brings over 20 plus years of experience leading teams and helping organizations navigate through strategic change. Her work centers on nonprofit management, leadership development, and change management with a talent for translating strategy into actionable guidance. Well, Jennifer, thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lilia, and welcome to all of our attendees and folks that have registered. Maybe you're watching this on the replay. I know that training is a hot topic, right? I know you nonprofit professionals. I was a nonprofit professional for many, many years. When we don't know what to do, what do? We get a training or we put a training together, right? And at the same time, we want it to be tied to a strategy and actually make our organization better. So, we're going to be able to tackle some of those topics today on how to build a training program that matters, works, and gets you the outcomes that you desire. So, why does this even matter? Oh my gosh, because we have a great mission. It's such a strong mission. We help people with food, we help people with housing, we help people with work, mental health. Whatever it is, that's all well and good. But that doesn't necessarily equate to a strong organization, right? It's just like you're building an entrepreneur that builds this great new product, but doesn't know how to get it out on the floor or out into the world. You still have to have all of those structures in place to make your mission come to life. And that's where we talk about capacity. Capacity is what allows mission to scale and sustain. Now, I want you to think through resources that you have right now. Have they gone down over the years? Are they threatened? Are you worried about funding? Are you doing more with less? So today's nonprofits, they face increased complexity with flat or shrinking resources. If that's you, you are not alone, right? So it's trying to do more with less and make our organizations stronger. I see a lot of smaller nonprofits that maybe the executive director is used to doing everything, the grant management, the back end systems, the training, the hiring, the onboarding, and all of that, right? And as you grow, how do you build those systems and train people to do the things that you need to do to make a successful organization? I have seen this too, and I know you know what I'm talking about. The training trap. Oh my gosh, right? It's often reactive or disconnected or designed to check a box rather than change behavior. And this is where value is lost. Oh man, we've got these annual safety trainings to do. Did everybody do them? You know what I'm talking about, right? Oh my gosh, we had this sexual harassment claim come up. We better do a training, right? And so it is teaching after the fact and not always connected to the strategy of what you're trying to achieve or who you want your organization to be. So you see an issue, there's a one-off training and workshop, people forget it as soon as they leave the room because guess what? Nothing changed and not everybody is doing it the same way. So why does it even matter? So there's another way to look at training. Think of it as infrastructure. It's risk mitigation and it's leadership responsibility. It is something at the core of an organization like finance or operations, right? These learning systems protect the organization and reduce leadership risk. Oftentimes, when budgets are tight and you're building your budget for the next year, you're figuring out a ways to cut corners. Oh, I guess our training budget's cut. Cut, 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 cut. But you know what I see? I see organizations with staff members who are hungry for training. I see executive directors and senior leaders who want training for their folks because you know what? They can't do it all and things aren't going well. It's like you're getting stuck in this whirlpool and you're so worried about getting out of the whirlpool, you're just trying to breathe instead of, wait a minute, let's unplug the drain, plug the drain. You know what I'm saying? Let's stop it all. And so we can think about it a different way. How do we escape this whirlpool or not even get in it to begin with? So, one way to look at this is to move from training to impact. So, most of the time, breakdowns usually happen between the learning and the application or learning and performance. Okay. So, if we know we want a result or an impact to happen, we're going to teach you how to do that. And then you know what happens? Okay, I'm feeling good. All our people are trained, right? Our people are trained. This is great. We have increased capacity. But guess what? In that performance piece, that application piece, there's no accountability or follow up or follow through to make sure that new learning is actually happening. And then what happens? Then we backslide and forget what we're even doing in the first place. And you've got people doing different things. Well, we were just trained in here, so that's why I'm doing it. No, but you know what? We're not really checking that anymore. Nobody's checking it, so I'm just going to go back to doing it this way. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. So one way to help mitigate this is starting with the right question. So what must our people be able to do to execute our strategy? So this takes it away from reactive mode and saying, oh my gosh, we have a problem with X. And instead, taking a step back, looking at your strategic plan, looking at your end of year goals, and asking, where are our gaps in execution and what do people need to learn to do that? Yes, there will be a million other things that pop up that you are thinking about, but what about this sexual harassment training? What about safety training? What about this? What about that? What about that? That's not a training strategy. That's just what you do in your normal everyday, like business as usual. That should be tied to the bigger strategy, right? If you're doing a training that doesn't tie to a bigger strategy, I don't know why you're doing it. I'll say that again. If you're doing a training that doesn't tie to your larger strategy, I don't know why you're doing it. Let's say you want better client relationships, trauma informed care, but that's not a goal for your organization. You're not measuring it. That's not part of the larger impact that you want. It's not going to get the buy in from senior leadership that matters. So start at the beginning, start at the strategy, and ask those tough questions. So there's three different lenses that we can use, right, to look at a diagnostic that avoids overcomplication. So we're going to start with the first one of role clarity. Do people know what success looks like and are expectations consistent? So this is one thing that you can look at across your organization to say, do our case managers know what they're supposed to do and why? Do we care about accurate data in the system? Do we care about customer service? Do we care about our outcomes? Do we care about processes and everyone having the same experience that walks through the front door? If there are not clear expectations, your training will go all over the place and you're not going to gain any traction. These are things that show up as nice to haves, or that sounds cool, or I want to know about that. But think about, where do you want your staff to go and to take your organization at the end? And do they know what that looks like? Is everybody aware? Next up, we have capability gaps. What skills are missing? Where does work slow or break? Oof. Is this a technology problem? Is it a handling of client complaint problem? Do you have consistent poor financial audits for your grant programs? Are your grant are your program performance just not up to par? So you're going to be looking for and identifying um, common friction points, or things that come up, and recurring breakdowns. Those are your indicators of true capability gaps. So take a minute and think about those things. The next thing I want you to think about, and this one, y'all, this one, I've seen this can kicked down the road so many times, is leadership depth. Think about when you decide to win the lottery and you're gonna, move somewhere nice on a beach. I'm picturing this right now. Doesn't that sound nice? Like, who's going to take your spot? Who's going to take the next level down spot? It's a classic depth chart. So, if all of your top performers or high level leaders leave, what will the state of your organization be? This is classic succession planning, and these gaps, they are predictable and manageable with intention. If you know that someone is a flight risk or ready for next step, are they going back to school and want to go, be a dentist? I don't know. We don't know, right? Then you can manage around that. Oftentimes, people are burying their head in the sand and saying, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine, we have time. But you're always planning now. So when you're thinking about your leadership depth, it's not just putting someone's name down on a piece of paper as your succession plan and just tell them, keep doing what you're doing. You're my succession plan. That's great. Like, really think through those other two lenses on what capability gaps they might have. Is it presentation skills, financials, board relationships, whatever that might be? Same thing with role clarity. What does it mean for them to be a leader in a higher role, and how will you know that they are ready? It can feel like a moving target, right? You're ready, you'll be ready in 2 to 3 years. And then 2 to 3 years later, oh, they'll be ready in 2 to 3 years, and they never gain any traction. So get very, very clear with yourself on what readiness looks like. Okay, now, how do you design a training that actually works? Because we can just teach you things all day long, and that sounds fun. Like, I know sometimes people love to go to training because they don't have to do their everyday job. Other people are like, please just let me do my everyday job because this is a pointless training. So if you are investing precious company resources and having somebody take time out of their day to go to a training, it better be targeted. There better be application or opportunities for application and expectations for the application in their everyday work, as well as being reinforced out in the real world. Without targeted skill development, application, and reinforcement, behavior change will not stick. I want you to think of a time where you went to a training and everybody's like, okay, this is a mandatory training. You have to go. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to go about giving feedback or coaching or helping clients. Okay, you went through this training. Check. All right, okay, go ahead out there. Oh, but we're too busy. We'll start that later. Or, oh, we don't have all of the processes or back end resources set up for you to actually do this. Oh, you know what? I haven't asked about that. I haven't checked in, but they did the training. I don't know what the problem is, right? So it has to be important enough to the organization that everybody is rowing in the same direction, holding people accountable, reinforcing, retraining, getting that feedback loop. What works? What doesn't work? What's getting in the way? How can we make it better? And then tracking progress over time. And it takes a long, 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 long time. Oftentimes, we think that this one off training is going to work, right? So it's that inspiration without systems. It fades quickly. You have to have that accountability and reinforcement. If I go through, let's just take something really simple. Let's say I go through back safety. I think most of us have to do some type of safety training, back safety or safe lifting. Okay, this is how we do it. There's the proper technique. And then 2 days later, you know what? There's no one around here to help me do a team lift. I'm going to do it by myself. And my supervisor sees me and they're like, oh, it's okay. It's not going to fly. So, getting that high level buy in from your leadership strategy and processes for follow up, so, 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 so important. So, you want to make this go from the event, the training event. Oh, we're having a training day. We're having our strategic planning or kickoff retreat. We're having our yearly celebration of this is how we're going to operate this year. Training is a process. If there's one thing you get from this discussion today, it is exactly that, that training is a process. It's not a checkbox. Learning is integrated in day-to-day work. So, are you giving people pre-work? Are you explaining the why behind the training and how it's connected to your strategy? Are you giving people the opportunity to practice in the training, role play, see how this will come into play? Are you sending them out into the real world and giving them practice? This is how we're doing, this is how it's going, feedback loops, reports, check ins, and then reinforcement after. An example that comes to mind are things like values recognition. Okay, here we go. Here's our new values. We're going to roll these out. Let's see how these go. I want you to, recommend each other for these values awards. And then people are really excited, and this is what it means to me. But then you know what? That was a nice event. That was a nice thought, but nobody does it. When there's no accountability or reinforcement after practice or a feedback loop, trust for the training or the organization diminishes because it's just one more thing that people have to do when they're already doing two people's jobs. So, by being strategic in what you're training and tying that to your strategic plan or end of year goals, and then really diving deep into what they need to be successful with accountability in a system, that is the most important. This is that quality over quantity. You want a quality training, multiple touch points, reinforcements, and feedback loops. I want you to also remember managers are the multipliers. So they either reinforce the learning or they quietly undo it. Remember my team lift back safety example when they just ignore me because I'm trying to, lift this desk all by myself and carry it across the office because that's just more fun and I don't want to wait. If they turn a blind eye, they're undoing my training. If they are not following up with me on how I enter data into this new client system, I'm just going to let it go by the wayside and go back to my old way of doing things, right? If that manager doesn't believe in the change or understand the why, they could sabotage it by saying, this is dumb, I'm not doing this, and you don't have to either. So, taking the time up front to really understanding the why and explaining the system of training that's well thought out. I would rather have organizations take the time to build something that will be long lasting rather than panic, throw in a one time training, and think that their problems are solved. You're wasting time. Because then what's going to happen? It's not going to work, and you're going to come back again 3 months later and say, well, that didn't work. And then you're going to train on something new or a different way. People are going to be more confused. So there's nothing wrong with taking the time up front, tying it to your strategy, and designing a well thought out strategic training system. Okay, we're good on time. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to go fast, y'all. Okay. So building leadership pipelines. So when we're talked about succession planning in that last leadership lens, this is leadership development must start before somebody's promoted. Preparation for leadership positions reduces that burnout and failure. So, I know you have seen this too. People get moved into leadership positions because they are the next in line, or they've been there the longest, or they're the best at their current position. That does not mean that they're going to be great in a leadership position. And why? It's because they're two different roles. What made someone successful in their previous position could be completely different things than in a leadership position. So, when we're talking about succession planning, we're identifying early and you're developing intentionally and preparing for that promotion. So, what does that even look like? Remember, you're going back to your skills gaps, you're defining what success looks like, you're giving real world on the job practice, and you're helping connect the dots for that person on what they're learning. I would hear all the time, nobody's developing me. I want to be developed here. I want to be trained. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to rise through the ranks. And you know what? Their manager had them doing all of the things, right? Learning financials, doing presentations, being out in community meetings. And it may sound silly, but being able to say, you know what, Lilia, this is why you're doing this particular task, is because I want you to grow your financial skills, your presentation skills, your community relations skills. That will serve you well as you move into a leadership position, because in a leadership position, you have to be good at this. How does that sound? Great. So then they know that they're being invested in, they know the why, and it opens up conversation to be able to have real discussion about what they liked, what they didn't like, what they were good at, what they could improve on. So it's not just a feeling of throwing Lilia to the wolves, good luck, I wish you well, hope you don't get eaten alive, right? Or drown in this spreadsheet that you hate. You're partnering with that person. Preparing your leaders for a promotion in this way also reduces burnout and failure. You want to get them to a point where they're already performing at that level before you actually promote them. It's much easier to do it that way than to throw somebody into the fire. You have to learn all of this, keep the wheels on the bus. And by the way, now while you're trying to do all of this and keep it running well, I'm also going to teach you how to actually lead. Ugh. Okay, here we go. Y'all are, I'm getting fired up just talking to myself here. Okay. And the cost of ignoring this, what happens? Oh, burnout, turnover, fragile leadership. What do I mean by fragile leadership? It's a thin line, a thin, thin line. Because what if they all burn out? There's not enough depth. If somebody leaves, you're going to be in a tough, tough spot. If a person does not know they're being developed or are not intentionally being developed after they've told you they want to be developed, they'll look for that opportunity elsewhere. And then here you go again. You're starting that cycle all over. So now you have to hire somebody new. or promote from within somebody else who's not ready, not because they don't want to be, but because they've never been trained, and you have a huge gap in the middle of your organization. So this is where that why comes in, and how you lead your organization is so, so important. It's that culture of growth. This is where learning is expected, growth is visible, and development is protected. Culture is defined through behavior, not statements. I'm going to say that again. Culture is defined through behavior, not statements. There's a phrase that I like to use, that culture is a shadow. So, if you're going out, I'm going to set the culture of growth for my organization. What you do in your behaviors as a leader casts that shadow on the rest of the people that work with you. So if you're saying, I believe in growth, those are statements. I believe in growth, that's a statement. Learning is important, that's a statement. I develop my people, that's a statement. But if stretch projects and assignments are not encouraged, if trainings are not provided, encouraged, or given the time to learn, and people are not being intentionally developed, that's the culture that will then foster in the rest of your organization. It's putting your money where your mouth is. It's walking the walk, not just talking the talk. When those two things don't match and there's a misalignment between the behavior and the statement, trust broken. Why am I doing this? I'm not doing this anymore. Oh, yeah, right? You say culture is important, but at the same, or growth is important, but at the same time, I can't take a training. And development is protected. What I mean by that is it's all learning. And I want you to remember, when you are learning, were you perfect right off the bat? No. So actually treat development as learning and growth, feedback and partnership. Also, the time for development is protected. It's not just, okay, Lily, I remember we're just throwing Lily to the wolves, right? And you know what? You've got to take this class on project management, but you don't have time during the day because you have to be in all of these meetings. Do you understand? There you go. There's your overflow. There's your burnout. There's your resentment. Lily's going to quit, right? Okay. So, one way to check your behaviors is figuring out what you signal. This is what shows up through time, the budget, and attention, whether it's intentional or not. So check yourself. Have you cut learning and training from the budget? Do you give time for one-on-ones with your people to explore what they really want? Do you give time to teaching? Do you have people go to local conferences? Do you have people go to lunch and learns? Are you paying attention to the development, training, systems, and programs within your organization? Or is it just like, oh no, they'll take care of it. It's good. Bye. Best wishes. It is a shadow. And this is a hard pill to swallow, right? Because you can't be everything to all people, but this is up to you. Where you spend your time, what gets the budget, and what gets the attention. So I want to give you 3 practical actions that leaders can take within 90 days to strengthen capacity. The first thing here is identify your top capability gaps. What are the things that your team just doesn't know? Oh my gosh, we have a weakness in technology. Our social media isn't great. And our processes in customer satisfaction are terrible, right? So you're looking at those things. Top capability gaps. You're also looking to align your training to strategy. I want you to be ruthless. Ruthless. Where are you going? What do you want a win to look like in 2026 and beyond? And what trainings are you doing that have absolutely nothing to do with that? And what do you need to replace those trainings with instead to get you to your end goal? Your time is precious. Your people's time is precious. Your resources are precious. So use it very, very wisely. And then lastly, equip your managers to reinforce the learning. Mean it. If you're going to train someone on it, mean it. Have a follow up plan. How can you make the reinforcement of the learning encouraging and supportive and not punitive? How do you get people to row in the same direction and talk about that? How do you have a feedback loop in place so people can say what's working and what doesn't? And do I need coaching? If there are managers that are reinforcing the learning by saying, oh, Lilia didn't do it, you've been trained by, and it's been a week of trying something new, do you think Lilia wants to work here? Does she want to try? It's scary, right? Fear, burnout goes up. So have a process as you go through for coaching, feedback loops, and ratchet up your accountability as you go on as people learn more and get more and more comfortable. So, my final thought for you today is that developing people protects the mission and builds your organizational capacity. It takes you further through your strategy and your ultimate goal rather than just ignoring it and hoping it all works out. So I want to thank you so much for attending today, and I'm going to turn it back over to Lilia.
Thank you, Jennifer. It looks like you assigned me a bunch of things to do.
So many things. You can do it all. I've known you for so long. You got this. See?
Um, Thank you for wonderful content and presentation, and I hope that participants have received some actionable items. And I have a question for them. If you guys have any question, please type it in the chat. In the meantime, I have a couple of questions for you. So,
Yeah.
as you are building, as you're thinking about building capacity for whether it's a nonprofit organization or any department that you are decision maker in, what would be first steps, first thing that you would do to start the process? And
I
what
would
are some of the things not to focus on to eliminate the potential errors and mistakes down the road?
I would focus on what you want to accomplish and why you're here. So, where are you going this year? What are you trying to get to? And that is your why, that is your beacon. It's like treat it like the sun. You need the sun, right, to move forward or to have anything grow. And anything outside of that, that's a nice to have, especially with limited resources. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I think that that is very crystal clear.
Okay.
And as we are entering this 2026 year, and thinking about training programs for the upcoming year for our organizations, based on your experience and topics that you are hearing from other organizations, what are some of the high impact strategies and training programs you would employ to start building capacity?
The first thing, which really it surprises me still, but at the same time it doesn't. It's just general strategic planning. There seems to be this wheel that spins in organizations where we just keep doing what we're doing, but we want to do extra things, but we don't really think about how we're going to get there. And there's a disconnect. So that's one. The other one is change management. Because holy cow, when you want to do something new and cool and different, or even maybe there's a leadership change, or you just change how things are doing. It's again very similar. It's not just checking a box. It's figuring out how to connect the why, setting clear expectations, and moving forward. And then the last one that I see a lot of oh, there's so many, Lilia. It's I'm gonna give two more: board, relationships and management, and then fundraising strategy. Because we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. Yeah, we all need more money. And why do you need more money? How does it tie to your strategy? And where are you going to find that?
So you would focus on aligning whatever actions you're planning on taking to your strategic direction and strategy for the whole organization, and making
Correct.
sure that anyone who is on the bus, they are fully aligned and fully trained and capable of moving the mission forward.
Right. Because if you as a leader can't say where you're going and it changes day to day, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It was a great conversation with you, Jennifer. I'm just looking for questions. If you guys have any, please put them in the chat. I'll give you another minute or so. If you don't have any questions, as I mentioned before, the webinar was recorded and you're going to receive a link with this recording. You can forward it to anyone who you think would benefit from this information. And in the future, we hope to connect with you and talk through in detail about the training challenges or any strategic initiatives you're having for the organization and how we can be a part of the solution and a part of the process, trying to help you move those forward. So we're just waiting for a little bit more. If you guys have any questions, Jennifer is happy to answer those. In the meantime, if you are interested in connecting with us, um, use the email for custom training at the University of Texas at Austin, and either myself or Dom or Melissa will reach out with a follow-up, and we will be more than happy to connect with you further. Any final thoughts, Jennifer?
Just thank you so much. Happy New Year and go change the world. Here we go.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.